What you must know about cost management to be successful in your project. My name is Guilherme and I'm a project management expert. I help professionals and companies to develop their project management skills to be successful with their projects, of course. How do I do that in practice? Can be in several different ways. Like I provide training for companies, and I provide training like for different people. I provide one-on-one mentoring, helping project managers or junior project managers to understand how to properly manage a project and help guiding them in how to organize a structure to communicate, to tackle problems in their projects. I help companies with consulting. So there are several different ways because if your goal is to develop your project management skills, my goal is to support you in this journey. The topic, before I start, of course, make sure you like and share this video here so it can get more people can understand project management. Of course, if you do that, you help a lot my channel and you help me to understand the value that this content has for you there. Cost management is one of the very important topics for any type of company. Why? Well, first of all, resources are limited. You're never going to see a company that are going to say, okay, you can just execute a project, you have unlimited resources, you can spend whatever money that you want for that. No company you're going to find this kind of stuff. Or if you find it, let me know because that will be the first time I've seen that. And I have been working with project management for I don't know, since 2009, I've worked with companies in Brazil, in US, Europe. I worked with global projects, so I have contact across the world with several different companies there. And I have never seen a company where people just can spend money without having to provide without any accountability, without any providing any results. So why? Well, your goal, your ultimate goal as a project manager, you might have heard me to say that more than once there, but your ultimate goal as a project manager there is to deliver value for organization. Organization, they create a project because they expect to get a value in the end of the project. Value can change, it can be in several different types of value. It can be money. Well, companies, they measure value with money, with business case. That's also important. But can be improving customer satisfaction. It can be improving the process, optimize a process, improve the process performance. It can be increase market share or all types of different value that you can have in all types of different projects because projects it goes across industry, it grows across company, and you're going to see all companies sooner or later they need projects there. That's why project management is a very valuable skill, and that's a skill that is high in demand there. What happens is if the organization is expecting a kind of value in the end, that can be in several different ways, usually you have attached to a project a budget for execution. What is that? Well, if you are going to build a house, let's say that you say, I'm going to build my dream house there, and here I'm going to just put random numbers there. And you say, I have a budget to build my dream house of $100,000. $100K, $100,000 there, or whatever, $1 million, depending on your dream house. But the value is not important here. If you use all the money, let's say you use the full $100,000, and you have half of the house that you want, you're not going to be happy in the end. And it works exactly in the same way with companies. They have a budget, they expect to execute a project, they want the value, whatever value in this scenario means. But of course, it has some strings attached there, which means there's a budget for that. And that whatever type of project that you are executing, it's the same thing. For example, let's say that you are using Scrum. Scrum is the most used agile framework there. You're using Scrum. What the company will assign a team there. Let's say the company assign 10 people to execute the project, developers, product owner, Scrum Master, and so on. They expect by the end that at some point you're going to be able to release something and that's going to be value added for the company. Of course, you should, if you're using Scrum, they expect that you're going to create value at every sprint. But at some point, you release this value. It can be that you're going to release a new product. It could be that you're going to release a new service, that you deliver something to the customer, or whatever it is. And of course, if you're using Scrum, it's expected that you have some flexibility in the scope. but you have assigned a team for the period of the project, or as long as you're going to run this, you are going to continue to develop this. So you can have multiple releases, but at some point you say, okay, I have the first release in 1 year. So you are going to have a team to work for 1 year to release something. What do you think is going to happen if you work for 1 year and in the releases, yeah, now we don't have anything to release? You're going to have a problem that. And of course, if it means that you're going to release one week later, that's a different discussion. But if you say, we cannot release anything, we need another 6 months. In another 6 months, then we cannot release anything. So you're using money from the company because the company is paying the salary for the people working the project, assuming that if you're working on a Scrum project, there's only those people there's only people, you're not buying anything externally. And in the end, the company don't get the value. So the cost keep going, and at some point the company say, pull the plug. Or let's assume that there's a release there, but the value that the cost for 1 year of work was, I don't know, $100,000 for 10 people there. Then again, just a random number. And let's assume that the value that the company gets in the end, like a product, that the company is going to have, the value that the company will be able to get from this product, it's, I don't know, $10,000. The company likely will kill the project. So cost management is always important. And cost management, invariably, you're going to see associated with a business case. Exactly for the reason I just mentioned, if your cost grows a lot, that will impact your business case. That might be that the reason or the value that the company is expecting the end there, it's not there anymore. Let's say that the company is running a project to increase customer satisfaction there. And then they estimating increase customer satisfaction in 5%. And yeah, they have things that they need to execute to go in that direction. And then the initial budget was $100,000. And at some point, changes in the project, they say now we need $5 million to execute this project. And the company will look, oh, $5 million does not worth the 5% increase that I'm doing here, because the amount of, depending, of course, depending where you are, the 5% increase that will not bring you revenue that to pay this type of investment. So cost management is quite important. What happened a lot in cost management, and that's what I want to go deeper in the discussion today, is companies, they create this budget, say, okay, we have $100,000 to execute this, $1 million, or whatever budget that you have it. But during the project execution, a lot of times there's no tracking, no good cost management initiative there, no cost tracking there. So what happened? The company executes there, stays 1 year or 2 years working something, and now we are everybody say, oh, we completed the project, and suddenly someone figure out, oh, but okay, but our budget we used 3 times what we should. So that means that we killed the business case. So we worked for 2 years, and now we are losing money because of that. So that's a really bad situation. You might think that does not happen, but I can tell you it happens quite often in organizations that they don't have a good cost management process. And that's, of course, why cost management is so important for your projects. So the first thing that you need to understand that you have a cost initiative there. Because in a cost initiative, it needs to be that you have a cost management tracking. Why a cost management? And if quoting again Peter Drucker, you can manage, you cannot manage what you don't measure. Meaning, if you say I want to manage the cost, but you don't track it, you don't measure the cost, then you are in trouble there, and that's what you are going to have. So, and there's a lot of pitfalls that you can have in a cost management initiative, and I want to explain, of course, some of those pitfalls, and with a methodology called the earned value management there, that's used to avoid those pitfalls. First of all, what's earned value management there? If you are studying, for example, for PMP, you should have heard of that on that already, because that's, of course, one of the important things that you're going to see on your development phase there. Earned value management there, are called EVM. It's a methodology that combines scope, time, resource, to assess the project performing. What, in other words, why doing that? It happens quite often that people compare the budget of the project. Again, let's say that you are going to build a house. You have a budget of $100,000 to build a house. Then you're comparing your actual costs. Let's say that you already spent $50,000 to build a house with your budget. If you simply compare $100,000 of budget with actual costs of $50,000 for a budget, you say, oh, that's a good situation, right? No, that's a bad situation. That in reality, you don't know what the situation is. Because that might well be that you use $50,000, but there's only 1% of progress to build the house, meaning that they just clean the land there and did not do anything else. So likely to complete the house, you are not going to be able to complete the house using the other $50,000. That might be that you have $100,000 budget, but if you want to complete your house, you're going to end up spending, I don't know, $200,000. That's the idea, why you cannot only compare actual cost with your budget. So to have a good view, you need to take other project dimensions into perspective to understand what's your cost performance there. And of course, with the EVM, you can assess the performance for cost and the performance also for time. But for time, usually it's it's easier for people to understand where they are with the timeline. It's if you're doing, of course, hopefully you have a good schedule management and you're doing that in a proper way. Or even if you're, let's say again that you're using Scrum, you need to have an understanding how many sprints, what you can release in those sprints, and how many sprints that you have for your product release there. So those things that are always there. And why people start to why earned value management? First of all, a good budgeting process will make your cost management easier. So if you have a good budgeting process, that will help you uh, in all the initiatives that you're going to do. But earned value management was created because that's objective method to measure project performance. There are companies that I've seen that they ask, okay, project manager, what's the status of the project? The project manager say, oh, it's green or it's yellow. And I've never seen any project manager in situations like that saying, now the project is red. What happens is if the project manager, sometimes those people they were assigned to be project manager, they don't have any training, they do not know how to do it, so they don't track the cost. Then you end up in the end, it happens what I mentioned to you, that the company figure out, oh, we used twice the money that we had for this project. So the idea of earned value management is to have something that's objective that you can use to measure your performance. So you understand how effective that you are using the money that you spend. Like assuming the case of the house, if you say that you spent $50,000 and you just progress like 1% with your construction from $100,000 budget, likely there's two options. Or your budget was completely wrong in the beginning. That's why I'm saying a good budgeting process will help you to have a good management process there. Or the money that was not used in a very effective way there. And of course, with earned value management, you start to measure the value that you're creating there. Why this is important? Because you need what everybody wants. We want that you put money and you created value there. Think about you're investing your money there. Let's say that you're buying stocks from Microsoft. If you buy a stock per 100, and here I'm using just random numbers there, and suddenly they drop the cost, I don't know, something happens with Microsoft and the values go from 100 that you bought it from for to $10. So you're not creating value. Basically, it's destroying value. So you're losing money with your investment. What do you want in a case of investment? You want the price to go higher. Why? Because then you are adding value. It's the kind of the same idea or kind of the same analogy there when you are using a company's investing money. They want to invest money in a team to work in something because they are expecting that this team will create value that they want in the end of that. So if the team use a lot of hours and don't deliver anything, so they're not creating value there. And also, so earned value management helps you to understand how to measure this value there. And very simple reason why using EVM, because company profitability will be tied up with their revenue and cost. Revenue, it's of course in revenue. If you increase $1 there in revenue, you have a percentage to increase your profitability. For cost, if you reduce your cost in $1, that becomes your profit there. Your profit there. So you can imagine that reducing costs is a very effective way also to increase your profitability. Easier to increase profitability by reducing cost than by increasing revenue. Of course, if you don't have revenue, if the revenue is not growing at some point, you cannot reduce the cost furthermore. So keep that on that. So cost management, a good cost management initiative, and if you are using EVM in a proper way, will help your company to be more competitive, because a company that's not profitable, it's not sustainable. Very important. Profit, money for companies is like air for us. Like, you should not live to breathe, but if you cannot breathe, you're going to die. So a company, if they should not exist only to make money, but if they don't have money, they are going to die. I already talked about that. A lot of companies, they have a subjective project. That's something that you can avoid with EVM. And the concepts that some of these concepts here that I'm explaining to you, you don't need necessarily to use the same KPIs as you have, for example, in the PMBOK, where they talk about earned value, actual cost, cost estimation. But you need to understand the concept and idea of EVM, because otherwise you are not going to be able to be effective using doing having a good cost management initiative. So if you understand that, you're going to be able to understand the project status, and then you can make better estimation. And of course, if you understand the project state, you can make an estimation in the case of the house. Let's say that you say, oh, I used 50,000 of my budget and I progress 50%. Can I make it or not the project? Then the other 50% you can estimate. And of course, in some case, companies, they have deviations for rules to deviate from the budget. For, let's say that you have a budget for 100,000. If you expect that you're going to need 200,000, yes, you're going to need to present for the stakeholders. Earlier that you inform that you have cost deviations for stakeholders, better it will be to manage your stakeholder expectation there. If you anticipate ahead that you're going to need more money, you can look for actions also to reduce the cost. That will also make you a better project manager, because you are anticipating a problem there that you're going to have with your budget, and so you're looking for what options that you have to try to get back to the baseline. Of course, a lot of times it's not possible, but maybe you are not, in the case of the house, that you go for 100,000 to 200,000. Maybe you are not going to be able to go back to 100,000, but maybe you can save another 50K there. So you end up in 150K there. And if you do not understand the progress of their project with the progress with your costs, you are not managing it. And I've seen a lot of organizations, the project manager, they do that. They do a lot of meetings, they take notes, they talk with a lot of people, they coordinate a lot of stuff. But in the end, what you're doing there, you're not driving the project. What you want from a project manager is to be seated in the driver's seat there, meaning that you have all your team members, but you're driving the direction. You're steering the project to the right direction. And if the company, does not matter how many meetings that you have, that your project team is happy, that you're working well, if the company does not get the value that they want in the end, they are not going to consider the project as a successful project. Say, okay, we have a fast time to market. Okay, are this project delivering value for the organization or not? No, this project is helping the organization to achieve its strategic goals there. No, so it's not delivering value for the organization there. And I've already mentioned that different companies they might have different ways to use EVM. Not all of them they are going to use the examples that I'm going to show here, but you need to understand the concept and the idea what you are doing here. Or if you are going to change the name of the key performance indicators, you are going to calculate the key performance indicator in different ways, as long as you keep the concept, the fundamental that you have there, that's what matters there. And talking about using it, yeah, there's different challenges. I'm not going to go for that. I already explained to you why cost management. Let me give you an idea why earned value management is important. Let me give you an idea of the KPIs that you can have there. One that's called the planned value, meaning that you are going to take your budget, you are going to distribute these on time to see, okay, and you can do that even if you are using Scrum. You can distribute the value. You have a fixed value. You have a the Scrum sprint. It's fixed, so you can estimate that's the amount of money that I need for every sprint, assuming that of course you have your team there. You have something that's earned value that you are going to try to say in the end after some progress what kind of value that the team is creating there. For example, what kind of value that you have for a house. Let's assume that you are building a house again. Although you might not have initiated the construction itself, you can have like a designer working on and the entire civil design is ready. That's a value being created there because although if you say, I don't have the house here, but you already have the design, so you already have progress and you already have value because the design costs money, hours for the team and so on. So that's a very important thing. And of course, in the end, you can even use the design, at least parts of the design for any other house that you might want to build. So there's a value in a design there. And of course, depending how many hours that you use to complete this design, it's what's your actual cost. So let me make the example here of the house. Let's say that you have 50K, 50,000 for a design of a house. And here I'm just using random numbers to facilitate the understanding. Then you spread this, that the entire design would take place in 2 months. So 25,000 in 1 month, planned value, 25,000 in other month, planned value. In the end of the first month, you figure that the team they delivered 30% of the design versus the planned of 50%. So you get 30% of your earned value there of your budget. In this case would be 30,000. So you have an actual cost there. Let's assume the actual cost is 25. Sorry, I'm using the reference here of the reference here for it was 50K. So you have earned value 30% of 50K is 15K there, and you have an actual cost there of 25K. So it means if you compare your actual cost with your earned value, you are in a problem because you invested the money, but you don't get the value that you expected from that. And of course, if you look for your time, you invested the money, so you planned to progress to 25K, but you progress 15K. So you're also behind your schedule there. That's what all those things mean. And of course, your budget, in this case 50K, and you have something called estimate to complete, meaning that okay, you use 25K right now, you are behind your schedule. How much money that you still need to complete this project? And you have something that's called the estimate at completion there. That's basically you're going to take your actual cost, but your estimate to complete. Then you have the estimate at completion there. Looking this into a graphical way, and this comes here from the standards for earned value from the PMI. You can see this in a graph form, which usually helps to understand. For example, you have the different curves. You have the one in the middle that you have the budget. You have the one here with the actual cost because every month that you're going to progress, you have an actual cost there here. And you have one here that's showing the work done. That's showing the earned value here. So you're comparing the example I just mentioned here. You're comparing your earned value with your planned value with your actual cost. And based on that, you're going to be able to understand, are you on track or not? Say you planned 50 as a planned value. What's your earned value? Meaning what's the value that you created in the period? Oh, I created a value of 50. Good. So you are on track. And what's the actual cost there in this case? Oh, the actual cost is 60. So you planned 50, you created a value of 50, but you expend 60. Maybe you expend more hours there, or you bought something that's more expensive that was expected in the budget. So you are behind. So you have a problem with your budget, or you might have a problem with your budget, depending how you do it. And your whole role as a project manager is keeping understanding how those 3 points they are going to fluctuate. Why? Because sometimes you are behind, so you need to understand, okay, how I get back on track. Sometimes you're saving money, sometimes you're overspending, and those numbers they change every day. And of course, as a project in practice, you are not going to be able to track this every day, but you need to understand where you are. Otherwise, you get to the situation where you're going to compare your actual cost there with your budget, regardless of your earned value. So then you have a problem there. And of course, if you are studying for the PMP, then in the PMBOK they define a KPI for performance there for schedule, what's called a schedule perform index. That's basically a ratio between the earned value and the planned value. You can have something that's called the cost perform index there. That's the ratio between earned value and actual cost. In reality, I've never seen a company using an SPI and CPI exactly in the same way as calculated in the PMBOK. So you might have the question, why PMI is doing that? Because what you need here is not to have a have a KPI that you must apply all the time. You need to understand the concept of it. That's what I'm explaining that to you. Because in whatever situation that you are going to have, whatever is the KPI calculation, the the logical thinking it's always the same. The way of thinking here, the concept will always be valid for any type of project. And that will help you to understand, okay, what's my situation? How am I with my costs? Depending on the cost that you're going to create it, what's the impact in the business case? How I am with my time in there? And that works for any type of project. Works if you're using Agile, works if you're using Scrum. Of course, if you're using Scrum or Agile, you might have to adapt how you're going to do that. Meaning, you might adapt your calculation, you might adapt how you're going to showing that. And of course, usually Agile, Scrum, they have common known there for KPIs, like they use burn up, burn downs, cumulative flow diagrams, and so on. But with all those things, what you're trying to do is to understand where your project is and where you're going to be. And of course, always understanding what kind of value that you are looking for there. So this is very important and very fundamental in any type of project. Because if you do not understand the concept that I just explained to you here, you're going to struggle with cost management in any type of project that you're going to have. So this concept here is you should work this as a foundation of any type of cost management process that you're going to do that. And now you understand, of course, why cost management is important. You understand what's earned value and why understanding earned value is important. Why, of course, it's important that you start to apply these into your projects. Again, by applying into your project, I'm not telling you that you should follow exactly the same thing that you have here, creating exactly the same graph that you have here. What is important that you understand the concept, because if you understand the concept, you are going to be able to replicate it and to mold this to customize this to the reality that you have in your company. What type of report that you're going to get, what type of expectation the stakeholders that you need to have, because earned value in the end will also help you to manage the expectations. Worst situation that you can have in a project. You start to go to a project, 1 year later, some stakeholder asks, then they figure out that you are late and you are over budget. Then someone say, okay, what you are doing here that you did not know that before? Why did you not say anything like that? And you might think that, oh, that's the kind of stuff that not happen. Those kind of stuff happen every day. And organizations that they are more mature with project management, they have this kind of stuff embedded already in their procedures to avoid this type of issue. I've seen companies that the project manager was not doing that, it was not tracking that, and was kind of not reporting the correct numbers for the organization. So after 1 year, when the project would explode, because at some point it's not sustainable to keep this kind of lie, just to have a green KPI, he just find another job and move forward. And the company was there with a big loss to handle, a big problem to handle, to explain to the customer why everything was delayed, to explain also to the directors why you killed the business case of the project. That's a very difficult situation, and that's what you can do. You can avoid if you understand the earned value management and if you apply this concept to your reality there. Of course, there's more of that we could go. Of course, I could spend another hour just talking about details, other details here. What's important here, if you understand the concept, that's already a big step there. And I know that can be overwhelming sometimes. So if you have questions, make sure you ask. Then you can ask questions here in the comments of this video here. But also you can ask questions on my Instagram. I have a Q&A box that's open every day on Instagram. You can ask all project management questions that you want there. Again, don't forget to like and share this video here so it can get to more people and more people can understand how to make a good project cost management process there. But also that helps me, helps my channel, helps you, the social media here will distribute my video for more people if you like it and share that. That of course help me also in the process here. Because if your goal, in the end, if your goal is to develop your project management skills, my goal is to support you. Don't forget also to follow my channel on YouTube, on Instagram for more content. More every week, there's more content there. Thank you and see you soon. Bye.